Zimbabwe opposition leader Tendai Biti has been handed very harsh bail conditions after spending the past weekend in custody. I speak to Mr. David Coltart, the Mayor of Bulawayo and a former cabinet minister. Welcome, sir.
Good morning.
Please list those bail conditions for us.
He was granted bail on, I think, payment of $500. But the worst aspect of it is the reporting condition and the order which basically stifles him from contributing any further to the debate going on in our country regarding the amendment to the Constitution. And clearly it's designed to prevent him from making any further contribution to that debate.
Please recap for us the exact circumstances of his arrest.
Well, we've got to put it in context. In February, the Parliament of Zimbabwe announced that there would be a new constitutional amendment bill. And in terms of our constitution, we have a process which allows for public consultation and debate prior to the bill coming to Parliament for debate in Parliament and a vote on that bill. Tendai Biti, along with many others in the country, has been fundamentally opposed to the amendment bill because he believes that it destroys some of the key foundations of the Constitution we agreed in 2013. And he has been traveling the country speaking out against the amendment bill. On Saturday, he was in the eastern city of Zimbabwe, Mutare, and he participated in a training exercise, as I understand, of activists who were being taught regarding the problems relating to this bill. The police arrested him using one of our draconian laws, which states that prior to any public meeting being held in the country, one has to give the police notice of that. You've got to notify the police. And they said that this was a public meeting that he had not given any notification of, and therefore an offense had been committed. The law itself is draconian, but even if you apply the law, it was wrongly applied because this was a private meeting. It was not a public meeting. There was no requirement to give the police any notification of the meeting. And in any event, one just has to notify the police. The police haven't been given powers to ban any meetings unilaterally. So clearly, the arrest of Tendai Biti was contrived, was used to punish him for opposing these amendments. But clearly now, given the bail conditions, has been used to ensure that he contributes no further to the debate which is swirling in the country around this amendment bill.
So with his voice effectively silenced now, what impact will that have on other members of the opposition fighting these proposed changes?
Well, it has a chilling effect on everyone. And let me also say that the arrest of Tendai Biti hasn't come in a vacuum. I was meant to contribute to a debate in Bulawayo 2 or 3 weeks ago. That meeting was banned. Another fellow lawyer, Lovemore Moduku, was set upon by ZANU-PF thugs a few weeks ago and badly beaten and tortured. He ended up in hospital as a result of that. And so one needs to see this in this broader context, that it is designed to have a chilling effect on activists who are opposed to these constitutional amendments, but also to the general public. In the coming days, starting on the 30th of March, there's a period of 3 to 4 days when parliamentarians will be going countrywide to engage in this process of explaining the bill to the general public and getting the views of the public. And there's no doubt in my mind that ZANU-PF are busy preparing their own supporters to come to these hearings. But given what has happened in the last few weeks with the beatings and the arrests, that acts as a chilling effect for those who are opposed to the bill, and therefore will mean that this process of public hearings in itself has been undermined by this.
Do you think the public hearings are just going through the motions process?
Oh, well, there's no doubt in my mind. We're deeply concerned about the manner in which Parliament has arranged these public hearings. For example, take the city that I am mayor of, Bulawayo, the second largest city in Zimbabwe. It has a population of some 700,000 people. On Monday, there are 2 hearings. There's one in the large city hall at 10 a.m., and then there's another hearing in the afternoon in one of the working class areas. So in other words, there are only 2 meetings to cater for the views of a city of 700,000 people on what is arguably one of the most important and significant amendments to our constitution. So it's wholly inadequate, and clearly it's designed simply to go through the motions. There's a constitutional obligation on Parliament to conduct these hearings, and so they're literally just ticking the box. And I'm no prophet, but I suspect that on Monday in Harare that these meetings will be packed with people who've been trained by ZANU-PF, who will seek to dominate these meetings, to crowd out others, to engage in threatening conduct, and therefore drown the views of, quite frankly, the overwhelming majority of Zimbabweans who are opposed to these constitutional amendments.
Now, if these constitutional amendments make it, it would mean that the current president could be in power until 2030. Is that correct?
Well, it extends not just the president, but the existing parliamentarians, and even in theory, me as a councillor. Our terms in office are extended by 2 years. But that is not the fundamental problem that I have. Our constitution allows for amendments. The key objection to this is that our constitution has a belt and braces provision that says that if there's any amendment to our constitution which has the effect of extending the term of office of an office holder, whether that office holder is the president or a parliamentarian or a councillor, that amendment has to be subjected to the Zimbabwean public through a referendum, not just public hearings like this, not just a vote in parliament, but a referendum conducted countrywide where every voter is entitled to vote yes or no. And ZANU-PF is seeking to evade that clear constitutional provision. If they do that, as is their stated intention, then that constitutes a very severe breach of our existing constitution. But of course, coming back to your point, I have a fundamental problem. I was elected for 5 years. That was the contract that I have between myself and the people who voted for me. They didn't vote me in for a 7-year period. And it's not open to me as an incumbent to simply grant myself another 2 years of office without a clear mandate being given to me by the electorate. There are other provisions in these amendments which are equally concerning. They are overall designed to consolidate power in the hands of the executive and to undermine the other arms of government. They undermine the judiciary. They give the president the power to play a much greater role than was ever designed in the 2013 Constitution, for example, in the appointment of judges. So there are numerous provisions in these proposed amendments, which those of us who were involved in the development of the 2013 Constitution have deep-rooted concerns about.
What else can you do apart from campaign against the proposed amendments?
Well, there is very little that we can do in Zimbabwe. for example, most of the media in Zimbabwe is tightly controlled by the government. 46 years after independence, we still don't have a single truly independent radio station. Our broadsheets are controlled by government. And so they control the propaganda mechanisms in the country. So it's very difficult. We do use social media fairly effectively, and social media is used by a lot of people. But to be frank, and this is a very negative view, I think that ZANU-PF are absolutely determined to push this through. They will go through the motions. They will deny the right to a referendum. And then our only option is to go to the Constitutional Court to challenge this. But the courts even have been undermined in recent years. And so many of us have doubts whether even that process will succeed. So it's a very grim prospect that we face in the country, because in essence, what we are seeing is a constitutional coup. I think that ZANU-PF has looked at what has happened in Tanzania and Uganda and the fallout of such violent elections, and they've decided just to avoid elections, quite frankly, for another 2 years. And if they extend now by a further 2 years, what's to stop them just extending their terms even further beyond that?
Have you kept track of how many times Mr. Biti has been arrested?
Tendai Biti is an old friend of mine, a fellow lawyer. He's been arrested in the course of the last 20 years on numerous occasions. I've lost count. In 2008, for example, in the run-up to the inclusive government in which we both served, he was Minister of Finance, I was Minister of Education. He was arrested for a long period of time and in fact badly tortured whilst in detention. So he's a very courageous man. He's a highly principled man, a very intelligent lawyer, and I commend him for his courage in standing up in the way he has in opposition to these illegalities being perpetrated by ZANU-PF at present.
How was he treated while he was in custody the past weekend?
I haven't managed to speak to him since his release, but I've had no reports of him being tortured or otherwise ill-treated. His lawyers did complain that he had been denied access to his lawyers, but that was the only complaint that they raised in the bail hearing. So my hope is that he wasn't mistreated in any ways beyond that.
Thank you. That was Mr. David Coltart, the Mayor of Bulawayo, speaking to Biz News about the arrest of opposition leader Tendai Biti. Thank you, sir. I'm Chris Steyn.
Thank you.